In Search of Balance. Wayne Dyer. He was an American psychologist and writer of spiritual growth books. In Search of Balance. For Elizabeth Crow. 10,000 thanks for your magic and loving presence. Light up all pages of this book. For my brother David. We balance in the years difficult. I love you. 1. An infinity of forests sleep in the dreams of an acorn. Balancing dreams with habits. True imagination is not a whimsical reverie, it is a heavenly fire. Ernest Holmes. The greatest achievement was first and during once a dream. The oak sleeps in the acorn, the bird sleeps in the egg, and in the highest vision of the soul, an angel awake he shakes. Dreams are the suckers of realities. James Allen. One of the biggest imbalances of life is the disparity between your daily existence, with its routines and habits, and the dream that is inside to have an amazing life satisfactory. In the quote that begins this chapter, James Allen explains through poetry that dream is the magic kingdom from which the newly created life emerges. On inside each individual there is an unlimited capacity for creation, that Allen calls an awakened angel, that is eager to plant seeds fulfill your dreams and your destiny. I could not resist including the quote from Ernest Holmes describing that imagination dynamic as heavenly fire. Both they are invitations and reminders that needs to attend to that continuous fire, the dream that he carries inside, if for you are important to live an existence balanced. How that appears imbalance in your life. This lack of balance between dreams and habits can be very subtle. No is necessarily revealed in the obvious symptoms of heartburn, depression, illness, or anxiety. It's something I know experience more often as a constant unwanted companion, who continually whispers to him that he is ignoring something. Is there a task or experience often not identified that for you is part of his existence? It may seem intangible, but you feel the yearning to be what I wanted to be. Feel there is an agenda hidden, his way of life and his reason for life are unbalanced. Until pay attention to that imbalance, that subtle visitor will keep poking you to regain your balance. Think of a scale with a pan down and the other up, like a seesaw with an obese boy at one end and one skinny on the other. In that case, the end heavy that unbalances the balance is the overweight boy, representing the daily behavior, the work that perform, the place where you live, the people with which it interacts, its geographical location, the books you read, the movies you watch, and the conversations that fill your life. None of those things are necessarily bad. The imbalance exists because the latter are not healthy for your life, they just don't fit what you had imagined it would be. When something is not healthy, it is not good, and in a way you feel that way. May be convenient for you when you live in a life based on appearances, but the weight of your dissatisfaction creates a huge imbalance in the only life he possesses at the moment. He is perplexed with the omnipresent and annoying feeling of dissatisfaction does not eliminate. A feeling of emptiness in the pit of the stomach appears when it is sound asleep and his dreams are full of reminders of what would have liked to be, but wakes up and again insists on sticking to his routine which gives you security. Their dreams also demand your attention in the life of wakefulness when petulant and argue with others, because in reality he's so frustrated with himself. Try to relieve that pressure by expelling your go-to. The imbalance disguises itself as frustration with your current lifestyle. Yes is allowed to think of that heavenly fire, then rationalize your status quo with explanations and mental ramblings who, deep down, knows that they are nothing more than excuses because you don't think you have the tools needed to achieve that balance. There may come a time, the one that is getting harder with yourself and resort to medication and other treatments for that feeling of disability and so-called depression. You will probably feel more and more angry, with constant mood swings, with minor alterations, such as colds, headaches, and insomnia, and more often. The longer spent in that state of imbalance, less enthusiasm you will experience for your monotonous life. Work becomes more routine, you are less enterprising and targets are reduced. Is depressed. Begins to affect their behavior with his family and with those people who loves. Easily disturbed, and provokes others for no apparent reason. Yes is able to be honest with himself. You will recognize that your irritability arises from imbalance with the great dream that has always had, and that right now seems to be escaping. When those symptoms emerge subtle, it is crucial to explore the type of energy that you are contributing to the balance to create balance, or in this case imbalance. The weight of anguish is nullifying your reason for being, but you is the only one who can rebalance the balance of your life. Then we offer some tools for help you regain a balanced life. We will begin by acknowledging what forms is being sabotaged. Mental energy that makes manifestation impossible of your dreams. Your desire to be and live great, it is part of your spiritual energy. For create balance in that aspect of your life, you must use the energy of your thoughts to harmonize with what you want. His mental energy attracts what you think about. The thoughts that honor the frustration will attract frustration. When says or thinks something like I can't do nothing, my life is out of control and I'm trapped, that is what will attract, that is, resistance to his greatest desires. Every frustrating thought supposes buy a ticket for more frustration. Every thought that tells you that you are trapped and that you accept is to ask the universe to send you more of that glue to stay stuck. The most important tool for being balanced is knowing that you and you alone are responsible for imbalance between what dreams that should be your life, and daily habits that distance their existence from that dream. You can create a new alignment with your mental energy and instruct the universe to send you opportunities to correct that imbalance. When I do, we'll discover that the world of reality, it has its limits, but that's not the case with your imagination that lacks them. This limitless imagination is born the seedling of a reality that has been asking screams to be returned to its environment balanced. Restore the balance. The objective of this principle is to create a balance between dreams and habits. The best way to start is by acknowledging the signs of their habitual behavior, then you must change your way of thinking so that it is in balance with its dreams. What are your dreams then? What lives inside you that has never missing? What night light is next shining, even if it's just a flash, in your thoughts and dreams? Whatever it is, however absurd it may be result to others, if you want to restore the balance between your dreams and your habits, need to make a change in energy you are contributing to your dreams. Yes is unbalanced, it is fundamentally because it has allowed, due to the energy you invest in your habits, these define your life. Those habits, and consequences thereof, are result of that energy you have given them. In the early stages of the process rebalancing, focus on your conscience, you get what you think, both if you want it or not. Commit to think about what you want, and forget about the impossible or difficult as it may be achieve those dreams. Give them a place in the to be in the balance scale so you can visualize them and for them to soak up the energy you deserve. The thoughts are mental energy, they are the currency of exchange that must attract towards yes with your wish. Must learn not to spend that currency in thoughts you don't want, even if you're tempted to carry on with your usual behavior. His body can go on like this for a while, working the way it is trained, but in the meantime thoughts align with your dreams. The famous 19th century writer Louisa May Alcott expresses that idea in a way very stimulating. Far away in the sunlight they are my highest inspirations. I may not reach them but I can look and see the beauty, believe in them and try follow where they take me. It is possible to retrieve an appearance of balance between your dreams and their habits if we keep in mind the Mrs. Alcott's words, look and see, and believe in them. Words do. For an energetic alignment to emerge. On instead of focusing your thoughts on what it is, or what you have planned for your life, change and look and see, and believe firmly on what you see. As soon as start thinking like this, the universe will do your part and work with you, will send you precisely what you are thinking and believing. It doesn't always happen immediately, but as soon as start the realignment in your thoughts, you are already beginning to be in balance. The habit of thinking about in tune with your dreams. Oscar Wilde once observed that we are all in the sync, but some of us look at the stars. This is a perfect example of what it represents. Align your vision and your thoughts to that are in balance with what you feel it's meant to be. A thought such as "it is my intention to create a place for help underprivileged children" is actually a message to the universe. If you believe firmly that you are here for a purpose concrete, you must cultivate the energy to achieve that dream. No matter what they are the circumstances of your life. Your current economy is not important when it's about chasing your goal. The presence of a group of skeptics should dissuade you or cause you to doubt your attraction to that target. All that what do you do to balance your life with your dream will begin to co-create your life. To co-create is to resort to cooperation of the energy of the invisible field of the spirit. Perfectly balance your worldly goal with the sheer energy of the creation. Emulate that creation field being as similar as possible to him. It implies that you must be willing to see yourself as a being in balance that attracts the conditions you want get. It is in the contemplation of that power where it really acquires the can. Reread that statement until you is etched in your mind. Will not be able realize his dream of creating a center for disadvantaged children if you consider the possibility that he is not qualified to do it. Even if it's in the sink. You have the option to look at the stars, for what you should think about them, and reject the thoughts that draw you to him sink. Its break-even point is certainty that affirms with thoughts such as "I know, I wish, it is in going, nothing can stop it, and no, I have reason to worry." That lineup will turn your world. The universe is based on a law of attraction. You will see how the universe conspires with you to attract the right people, a situation satisfactory economics, and events apparently synchronous that will make your dreams, in the place and at the time appropriate. When balanced with thoughts that tell you that you deserve that cooperation of the world of the spirit, participate in the process of making reality. He is enjoying himself because he is in balance with the creative energy of the lifetime. It will no longer be possible for you to stay still while fussing or sitting frustrated. It's energized. Why? Because it is balanced with the origin of all creation. And thus, access the creativity attracting with their thoughts all you need. No will work if you are in a state of imbalance, complaining, living with afraid or expecting the worst. The same realignment process to balance the energy of your dream with your daily habits applies to everything you can imagine. Compose and produce your own music album. Train horses, adopt a child from a third world country, have a house in the field, get that job with which has always dreamed of earning money for pay off debts, run a marathon. Everything you want, if you can dream with it, you will get it. But only if it's able to align their creative energy internal your thoughts so that match your wishes. The thoughts that reinforce habits current, which do not conform to your wishes, they must be replaced by an aligned energy. No one has expressed it better than Jesus of Nazareth: believe that you will receive and you will receive. Why doubt? 1. Wisdom so balanced. 2. Life is more than just doing. Run faster. Balance your desire to enjoy life with his need to succeed. The more you advance towards God, fewer mundane tasks will give you to perform. Ramakrishna. One of the symptoms that is approaching a nervous breakdown is to believe that one's own work is terribly important. Bertrand Russell. The key to balancing your desire for be at peace with your need to succeed, to feel fulfilled and earn a living lies in recognizing that stress is not exists, there are only people with stressful thoughts. It's like that easy. When you change your shape process the world, that same world it also changes. Stress is an inside job. No can you fill a container with it because tension is not something physical or an object. There is nothing you can point and say, there it is, that's stress. It doesn't exist in that form. Without embargo, 112 million people in the United States take medication for stress-related symptoms including fatigue, palpitations, indigestion, diarrhea, constipation, nervousness, overeating, itching, nail biting, loss of appetite, insomnia, anxiety, irritability, panic, mood swings, memory lapses, inability to concentrate, ulcers, obsessive-compulsive behavior, distress, and so on, a list almost endless. And they are all caused for something that does not exist in the physical world. Being unbalanced due to stress makes us one of those millions of person who needs medication control symptoms earlier listed. It means that it is often you feel exasperated because you never enjoy life to the full. Job has been hard to get. Often feels as if life has passed advancing on an endless wheel. All the pressure of working and effort can bring you a lot worldly compensations, but at the same time you have the feeling of not going absolutely nowhere. If this sounds familiar to you, then should start reconsidering ways of process thoughts about your life and your work, and try to get rid of the symptoms of stress looking for a greater balance. Getting the balance necessarily requires a change of behavior. You can certainly sync stress-reducing activities like meditation, exercise, walks in the beach, or whatever works best for you. But if you insist on getting more, in to beat someone, to win at all costs, and in living faster because he believes that this way must be, has every chance of attract the vibrational equivalent of that thought in your life, even if you practice yoga and do a headstand every day while recite mantras. Stress reduction demands realignment. We become what we think throughout the day. We become how we think along of the day. To measure the weight of your thoughts, you need to think about vibration and energy. Let's suppose has a high frequency desire to be a person without symptoms of stress. Let's assign that thought a 10 in a scale from 1 to 10, where the lower energy thought of 1 represents a nervous breakdown, and 10 a peaceful and wise dominion. Next, you should look at the thoughts you have that confirm your desire for a peaceful and stress-free life. Thoughts like I'm overwhelmed. I never have enough time, there are so many people demanding things from me that I don't even have time to think, I have so much to do I don't know where start, I feel pressured by the need to earn money to pay bills are not balanced and peaceful. Those thoughts are resistant energy, that counteracts the desire of a calm and stress-free existence. On other words, they are not aligned and therefore they are so unbalanced. His desire may be a 10, but your energy mental in that situation is in a band lower, maybe 2 or 3. Changing your behavior will not to regain balance. Follow attracting symptoms of stress when he says not to people and their demands, but vibrates at a frequency that thinks, I should be doing what I ask, or maybe later I can do it. You may have shortened a program packed and frantic but still radiating thoughts of fear and anguish, will activate the law of attraction, which in turn it will cause fear and anxiety. Stressful thoughts do let the balance tip, that is what entails the law of attraction. Remember, you become what you think. If you think with anguish, anger, or fear, you can imagine what will happen. That's what the law of attraction will attract, even if you have a program well balanced that allows you to enjoy of more free time, and even of many stress reduction activities in your reduced personal schedule. If you can't tune your thoughts to success that is capable of attracting, the weight of the dominant thoughts will tilt the balance thus away from a life balanced. The way you live everyday existence will remain unbalanced, and it will have failed in its attempt to assimilate the essence of the advice of Gandhi, who says that life is something more than increase your speed. The first thing to learn is how to balance what you want with thoughts, or vibrational energy, that choose to attract those desires. Realign your point of attraction, the art of become. This is one of my favorite quotes from my teacher in India, Nisargadatta Maharaj. There's nothing to do. Only be. Do not do anything. Do not climb mountains or live in caves. I don't even say be yourself. Because you don't know yourself. I only know. This idea may contradict everything what they have taught him and how he has lived until now, but let it sink in you. If the inventory of ideas and rules that define his life has contributed to are you one of those who resort to medication to withstand stress exists, you can certainly afford to think a bit on it. When I take the principles to tune in with a vibration that matches your desire to a quiet and peaceful life, it will be more aware of your thoughts. They literally determine who you are. And the fact that you are reading this book indicates that you are interested in being more aware of your thoughts. Being and becoming are used here as synonyms. To regain a sense of balance between your desire for tranquility and your desire to meet the demands of your life, you must practice becoming, and be the vibration you want. Be peace. Peace is not something you receive in the end when you slow down your life. Peace is what you are capable of being and contributing to all the meetings and events in the waking moments of your life. The most of us fight an endless mental battle with everyone those we meet. Being calm is an internal attitude that you can enjoy when you have learned to silence your incessant inner dialogue. Being calm does not depend on characteristics of your environment. In few occasions is related to what people around you think, or that makes. A noisy environment is not a requirement. Saint Francis expresses it better than me: make me an instrument of your peace. In other words, Saint Francis did not ask God give him peace, but guidance to be more like the peace I thought it came from God. Being calm is not the same as seeking peace. This principle is not simply in choosing thoughts calm when you feel tense and anxious. I suggest you imagine a container within itself, from which all your thoughts flow. Inside the container, in its center imagine a candle flame. Should to commit to that flame, that it located in the center of the container contains all your thoughts, never will flash, whatever happens before you, terrible as it is. That's your vessel of peace, and only the thoughts peaceful can fan the flame of candle. It's not about changing your thoughts as well as learning to be an energy of peace that illuminates the path and attract thoughts and beings peaceful and harmonious. In this way, it will become a being of peace. Obviously, you must take with you that inner container wherever you go. When someone tries to pressure you somehow, when you feel overwhelmed, or when situations arise previously caused distress or bellicosity, he will be able to resort to his flame inner peace and try to continue on. That is to be the peace you want for himself, is to offer a vibration that matches your desire to be an individual calm and cordial, instead of a person suffering from the disease try to speed up life. Has already checked the result of madness, and also warned symptoms of stress in virtually everyone with that is found as a being of peace, you will exert great impact on people who are near you. It is difficult to be very stressed in the presence of someone who has chosen to be peace. Peace is an energy higher and faster acting. When he is at peace, his very presence will that considerably reduces the restlessness and tension of those who surround. In fact, that state produces measurable energy pheromones that they emanate from you. Affect others, become more peaceful beings without realize the transformation occurs. The secret of that beginning to regain balance in your life is, be the peace and harmony you desire. Know they can get them from nothing or anyone. Let's see, don't you think you're ready to take the wise counsel of Nisargadatta and just be? Work becoming that being with the light interior of a stable candle flame. Here are some exercises to get you started to be and become a person peaceful. Wish for others, even with more intensity, the peace he wants for himself. Spread peace wherever you go. Imagining that in the container of his interior only harbors thoughts of peace. Offer those energies whenever you can. Become a peacemaker with your coworkers, with their families and especially with people with whom maintaining a relationship based on love. Put aside your ego, so you can extinguish the flame of your candle. Then offer a new thought of that light to someone with whom normally argues and does not maintain a good relationship. You're right, I'll think about it. Oh, thank you for giving me your opinion, I was interested in it. What have you said? These claims may surprise you at first receiver, but you know you're practicing becoming a being of peace, giving what you want. Ask. Use the words of Saint Francis to ask to become peace: make me an instrument of your peace. The act of asking, even if I don't get an answer immediately, it will upset the balance and will help you become the peace that you want. Once you have ordered, you will see that you receive more easily than it was coarse. It is a process that consists of put aside your ego and allow the higher and more spiritual energies push him towards his goal, to become into a more balanced being. Slow down. Take your time. I urge you to reproduce quotes from Ramakrishna and Bertrand Russell listed at the start of this chapter. Paste them where you can watch them constantly and let them form part of his being. Your job is not so important, your mundane tasks are not so important. Make it your absolute priority in life to be in balance with the origin of creation. Be thoughtful in his slowed down time and invite the divine to be part of your lifetime. Being the peace you want supposes become a relaxed person, whose balance point does not attract symptoms of anxiety or stress. Make deliberate efforts and conscious to slow down, relaxing your mind. Spend a little more of time to enjoy life in this planet, be more contemplative when looking in the stars, in the clouds, in the rivers, in animals, in storms and in the nature. And then extend that same slowed loving energy to all people. Start with your family, spend a few more hours playing with your children, to listen to their ideas, to read them a tale. Go for a walk with your loved ones and tell them how important they are for you. Extend that perspective. Slow down outside at work, in your community and even with strangers. Make a deliberate effort to give in to someone your place in line instead of rush to be the first. Be aware of his efforts to become the peace you desire and live in balance, even while driving. To slow down your thoughts and decide to enjoy life more, stop car at a traffic light in amber instead to speed up. Drive, and drive safely, consciously, at a relaxed pace instead of do it frantically to get a couple of minutes before. Let others be pull into traffic, being courteous before legal. These are ways to start realignment process. Be aware of his desire to be at peace, and then equate your thoughts of the moment present to that wish. It will become in a. Be more compassionate without intending it, simply because you have tuned your inner world with its desire to be in balance. You will find that your body feel more in balance while chasing that magnificent quest, because you will experience fewer stress symptoms. Your body weight will adjust to the level optimal while returning to the state of perfect balance. Your skin will reflect the balance and peace you are acquiring. Your digestion will return to normal without pills' help. Your sleep patterns, they will regulate. Your intestines will work perfectly for what they were destined. In short, you will be in a perfect balance. And it will not only be in balance, but which, paradoxically, will be more productive. Will have more abundance flowing into your life while you will be in peace for the first time since I was a child. Take my teacher's advice, Nisargadatta Maharaj, just know. 3. You can't kiss your own ear. Balance how you see yourself with what he projects to the world. It's better to be hated for what you are, how loved for what you are not. André Gide. I don't care what others think of what I do, but I care a lot about what I think about what I do. That's the character. Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt quote is convincing and full of irony. His balance point is often found in the reaction of those whose opinions you respect and in whom trust. This is an option exceptionally valuable to you. Focus your concern on your evaluation, personal behavior and actions, at the expense of what others they think. It can cause you to be unbalanced. I am not advocating that. Opinions or criticism, not even praise from others, no way immobilize him, distress him, or flatter him. Attach too much importance to what others think can make people praise or criticism end up tipping the ladder towards imbalance. Which the following is a personal example that illustrates what I mean. I vividly remember my first year as a teacher during the term of the summer 1970 at Wayne State University. A small group of graduate students was doing a presentation to the class as part of his last course. I kept hearing giggles and loud laughter due to some of the antics of the group that did the presentation, and I had no idea what they were so amused. Finally, I realized that more and more students looked up at me to see my reaction to the presentation. I understood. They were imitating me. A student, he had lowered his belt to pretend that he a good stomach protruded above. Other members of the group talked to excessively loud voices and they gesticulated exaggeratedly, and they stopped making indecipherable doodles on the blackboard. And there you have me seeing myself portrayed like a good-natured, in a way that totally matched the picture I had neither of myself nor of the one I was projecting to the world. Have elapsed 35 years and I still have recorded in the mind that episode. Immediately after that experience, I made the conscious decision to get rid of that stomach prominent and get in good shape physical. I also learned the hard way, after to have been teased, to be a less dogmatic teacher in class. In fact, we can learn a lot about how others perceive us. We accept your contribution. In my self-experience, especially helping to raise to 8 children, there is often a large imbalance between how we see ourselves and how the rest of the world perceives us. Be aware of that disparity can be very useful to lead a longer life satisfying and balanced. It is obvious that he should not base his entire existence on please those who are close to you, but a balanced individual is free from make choices to change something if you are comfortable with the contributions that cannot be flattering. What does he look like in balance? Perhaps the most important question in that sense is, how do you want to be perceived in this world? Who answer that it does not matter if you live with a mask in the eyes, and without a doubt with a very unbalanced lifestyle. By of course you care. In some cases, your entire life depends on your answer to that question. Want to enjoy interacting with others, cheerful, happy, intimate, affectionate, useful, conscientious, attentive, and considerate. The essence of all human relationships is characterized by wanting to give and receive those emotions, and feel connected to the rest. If you also want awareness spiritual, then it must be more in harmony with its spiritual source. That is a source of love, kindness, joy, beauty, tolerance, creativity and boundless abundance. If you think embodies all those qualities, and without however, others perceive him with a totally different light, it is likely that is living an illusion and that state of imbalance persist in the future. The answer to how you want to be perceived in the world is, expressed in very simple way, I want you to see me like a real person. You want that his authentic being merges with the image that you are projecting outside. But achieve that purpose, you will know. Even if you choose to ignore it. So he imbalance emerges in their interactions daily, and manifests itself in feelings of anguish, malaise, confusion often misunderstood. My intentions were good, why the others do not realize. I try to be a good professional, father, citizen, and husband, but it seems that they misunderstand or misjudge me. That ends up in a continuous state of frustration and even anger. Your emotional state marked by anxiety or sadness says, I know I am a good person with good intentions, but no one seems realize. You need to make a decision to tune into a vigorous base that balance the scale between your idealized self and his authentic self, that is, how most people perceive they are part of your life. Restore the balance through realignment. When you strike a balance between who wants to be and how others receive, you have the feeling pleasant to be in harmony with the lifetime. It's not about seeking approval or servility instead of respect or love. Is plus the feeling of being in the world of a way consistent with your desire inside of being the kind of person that really is. To do this, you must first check whether you are being misperceived, and then determine if your words and actions equate to the truth of their inner thought. Finally, and almost automatically, this review of alignment will give you a reading that tune into what you project onto the exterior with what you want to express inwardly. Let's take a look at some of those signs. Tending, keep in mind that all the thoughts that has about himself possess a vigorous component. Below we present the most obvious qualities that describe how you feel about yourself. Check these elements, bearing in mind that their goal is to balance what you project on their interactions and behaviors newspapers with the truth that is in your inside. This lineup review requires honesty with oneself, in addition of the will to experience a sincere humility in doing so. I am a caring human being. If you want and believe this to be true, then it is 2/3 of the way from be in balance on this principle. You want to be a caring person, and same time you think it is, then only a third element remains. How do you others perceive? Yes, it feels misunderstood or unloved, before be able to perfectly balance the scales. Must decide if the caring human being who thinks he is, and who he wishes to be, is seen so for others. These are some behaviors that are counterproductive when to be perceived as a human being affectionate, and that create an imbalance, a strong position of hatred towards someone or to some group of people, it is unbalanced. Any form of violence, even verbal aggression, it is unbalanced. Is in accordance with the manufacture of weapons designed to produce mega-destructive explosions, it is unbalanced. Enjoy watching movies full of hatred and violence, it is unbalanced. Show your contempt for beliefs of others and insists that yours are correct, it is unbalanced. To realign and create balance you want, analyze the reactions of significant people in your life regarding his attitude. Ask them if you seem to them the affectionate human being what he thinks he is, then start the process to monitor your thoughts to see if they fit your self-portrait. And, finally, let your thoughts of love become the driving force of all those behaviors that they lack tenderness. This is alignment authentic. Start by looking at the world as a wide mirror that reflects him exactly how it is. If it really is you, a caring human being, the world it will seem like a friendly place, and so it will be like others will perceive you. There will be regained balance, and consequently there will be no discrepancy between how you see yourself and the reflection that you returns the world. If the world goes on seemed like an inhospitable place, unpleasant, I urge you to continue examining the kind of energy you are projecting to the exterior. I am a kind human being. You can't be nice to me and unpleasant with the waiter, and being in balance. When you insist on projecting arrogance towards other people, though believe that their actions are justified, this is how they perceive and define you. Should knowing that her image is not that of a balanced and kind person. You can certainly implement the kindness in how you treat your children, her grandmother, and even all the children, already all the grandmothers of the world. But if it touches the horn with a face reddened with fury to a grandmother who drives slowly to take their grandchildren to school, is very unbalanced. The discrepancy between his idealized self and how others perceive you is huge, and will create a real feeling of imbalance within, which can manifest in a disorder of personality. You know you're not living according to what he says about himself, and certain people point it out more and more frequently. You are solely responsible for the decision to generate a vibrational equal to his desire to be seen as a human being friendly, and you may perceive that you don't feel in tune with that desire. You can cancel an unpleasant thought before to finish it and say in an instant MR harmonies. You can stop right now in that you are cursing someone and raising your thoughts toward kindness. Yes, you want to be a good person, then take time each day to align your thoughts with your wish. The universe will cooperate by giving you more and more of that goodness. I am a cheerful and happy human being. In this section, you must pay attention to your feelings. In fact, they demand your full attention. Does it feel good most of the time, or is it one of those people who do not miss the opportunity to feel offended? Do you feel happy and satisfied, or easily offended by the misconduct of others? His joy suddenly becomes despair when reading the newspaper or listen to the news. Do the people in your environment truly believe that you are a person satisfied with their daily life? Do you often hear comments from others such as cheer up or relax and don't are you so overwhelmed? These are keys that indicate the balance or imbalance between how he sees himself and what he projects in the others. The alignment review for this principle supposes to be aware your feelings and your ability to sustain them, and the reaction of the people you trust. He is a cheerful person if he lives from joy, if it spreads joy whenever can, and if those who are close are happy with your presence. These are some tips to regain balance. In this principle, commit to seeking joy in everywhere. Always offer cheerful feedback that is possible. Join the joy of others, even if you have to fake it at first. Increase your level of approval. In place to discuss the ills of the world, take advantage of any opportunity to radiate joy. If you can make joy a way habit of responding to the world, will restore balance to the scales of how you see yourself and how others perceive his attitude of gratitude towards the lifetime. If you project an energy that puts into danger the feelings of others, if you do make them feel uncomfortable and this causes that they don't want to be with you, it means that is unbalanced. If you are not clear the effect it has on others, look for those who are willing to be honest with you, and find out if the perception you have of yourself match what they think. I am a tolerant human being. If you really are tolerant, never will establish classifications or generalizations with people such as old, uneducated, 15-year-olds, conservative, liberal, and so on successively. A stereotype is a judgment. You can't be tolerant and critical at the same time with the different behaviors of people, how they talk, eat, dress, interact, dance, or with any other activity. Yes, believes that he is tolerant but recognizes that has a tendency to generalize and judge. It's unbalanced. Needs a realignment so that your thoughts current, and ultimately their behaviors, become a vibrational matching with your indoor self-portrait. Make a conscious decision to observe what is good and pleasant for the others. Create a new habit of doing compliments to those who are close. Forget it of stereotypes, and refuse to participate in conversations focus on judging someone. Convert the judgments in flattery to compensate for the imbalance between how you want to be and how it really presents itself to the world. If you want to be a tolerant person and relate to others on that level, I suggest to change to a state of respect and virginal to appreciate the beauty that is in all people and in all things. Forget your usual way of perceiving that you don't like, and look forward and decide what is pleasing to you. Then verbalize what you have discovered as a way to reinforce that new habit of accepting unconditionally. Although his judgments are but thoughts, I urge you to change those thoughts as soon as you recognize them. Yes, you see an obese person and think, what disgust, is being aligned with a point of attraction that attracts dislike. Rebalance that energy by sending a silent blessing to that person. At tolerant side of the balanced scale. Think of all the love and support that person needs. I guarantee that you will perceive the difference inside and that at the same time you will feel, due to your goodness, connected with that individual. The energy of grace is totally balanced, in contrast to the energy of contempt, pity, or some other negative reviews. Be aware of all your behaviors and feelings. Then try to determine if they fit your vision of himself, and if that image is the one that others perceive. Immediately you will feel in disagreement when you discover imbalance, and that's when we'll decide to change habits to be at the height of your desires and recover the balance of your life. D.H. Lawrence observed in an occasion, what you want intuitively is possible. I could not agree more. However, you must ask yourself repeatedly, my intuitive desire is fits what I give to the world? When adjustment, the balance is restored, and the satisfaction will be your compensation. 4. His addiction tells him, you will never have quite what you don't want. Balance your desire with what you want with his addictive behavior. Everything terrifying, in its most deep, is something helpless that you need our help. Rainer Maria Rilke. That 7 times the righteous falls, but raise. Proverbs 24:16. If I had to score all 9 habits raised in this book, this would take the prize for being the most unbelievable, wasting our precious vital energy chasing something that doesn't want, and never have enough of it. What we pursue relentlessly. By lucky, this is an imbalance relatively easy to correct, despite what they told us about the difficulties involved in overcoming addictions. The concept of fighting and overcoming an addiction is already an evil statement of the issue. I think that we must start by eliminating those words of our vocabulary. Martin Luther King, Jr., once observed that the only way to turn an enemy into a friend is through love, not hate or combat. There is nothing to overcome fight. Let's think about the results we have obtained when we have fought against something in order to defeat it. By example, since it was decided to combat the poverty, there is more misery than ever in the world. Our war on drugs, it has only served to triple the population imprisoned and deliver substances illegal to minors. Already in the high school, it's rare to find a guy who don't know how to get all kinds of drugs. Our war on crime has involved more criminals, more fear, more vigilance, more mistrust, and further abuses by government forces order. Our war on terror has turned into people who behave with those we label terrorists in a way that resembles to the terrorism that we supposedly want remove. When it was officially declared the war in Iraq, the United States inspired even more hate, and how many people ready to become bomb suicides multiplied spectacular. And our war against cancer, obesity, and hunger, either he has managed to remove those blemishes. This is the reasoning that supports I just stated. In this universe we live in an energy system that it works according to the law of attraction. Is say, we become what we think during the day. If we think of what we hate, that's an energy that we are offering to our wishes. On that system, therefore, we will attract more than we think. In consequence, we will attract more of what we hate. We act according to our thoughts of hate, violence, fight, and war. And that is the result. We see the fruits of that thought manifested, even if our intentions are positively aligned with the energy of God. We get what we think, whether we want to or not. The thoughts that translate into struggle and war almost always guarantee that the answer is a counterforce. It is say, the others will respond in tune with our desire to fight and win. That kind of force/counterforce can last for centuries, and future generations are scheduled to continue that fight. This principle, which starts from the idea that the fight weakens us and generates more imbalance in our life, applies also to our experience with addictions. We can get rid of addiction relatively quickly. We decided to eliminate the fight and conquer of our efforts. The thoughts and the energy that replace the fight must take the form of thoughts warlike. As Emerson said so succinctly, the remedy for all errors, the cure for blindness, the cure for crime, it is love. And addictions are a mistake, I know. I assure, I have spent a good part of my life immersed in that madness. Overcome thinking full of errors. For those who don't know, my friend Ram Dass, in the late 60s, helped to shape the awakening of consciousness of a whole generation with his bestseller Be Here Now. One of my favorite stories of Ram Dass is the one who tells one of her first encounters with Neem Karoli Baba, his guru in India. Ram Dass says he had brought to India some pills created to alter spectacular state of consciousness. Neem Karoli Baba became interested in those pills and asked my friend to give them to him. Ram Dass believed he was wearing enough supplies of that potent psychedelic substance for a long time, but watched horrified and astonished how that enlightened being swallowed them all in front of him, without any reaction visible. Then the guru asked if had more, because it was evident that those hadn't worked. After telling that anecdote, Ram Dass concluded with one of his most shrewd, "If you're already in Detroit," he observed, "you don't need to take a bus to go there. All addictions are vehicles. What do people use to get to a place? Higher, more pleasant, more peaceful, more harmonious, more exciting, etc. But if you're already aligned with that energy, it is unnecessary to get on any vehicle heading to the place where resides." I have played with addictions and addictive behavior much of me lifetime. In fact, I would say that those different addictions have been some of my best teachers, because they have allowed to see that there is a level of higher consciousness, and once achieved, one feels wonderfully well. But I am also aware that using harmful substances to experience that separate reality is certainly a form misleading to do so. The pattern works more or less like this: we want to have more and more of what we wish. The more we take or soaked in it, we need more. And less effective it is, the more we consume. Besides that huge imbalance, what we are using to get to that blessed place is toxic to our well-being. The addiction increases our imbalance. Our wish is for happiness, peace, love, health, freedom, etc., but the behavior addictive gives us precisely what contrary. If not eradicated, it will create a chaos in our body and mind, and will ultimately destroy us. I'm basically free addictions, and I want you to know that if I have not been fighting my addictive nature. In fact, the more trying to overcome addictions, different stages of my life, to things like sugar, soft drinks, caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, and certain drugs, plus they got hold of me. Force/counterforce, I took out my weapons, and with them all my artillery, with my body as a battlefield where the war was being waged. He did no more than open the way to one more addiction deep. Before I quoted Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "The remedy to all mistakes is love." In which things would change if we followed that tip. The two keywords are mistake and love. Let's examine it more than near. Error. Why call an error? Addiction. Demand more and more of something than your body and mind vehemently despise its addiction. Choosing the biased world of addiction on balance, that is, about his spiritual heritage, is a great distortion of the inheritance he received be born. When he does, he's ruling bad his life. I am convinced that it is a mistake that can be balanced with love. You have originated from a spiritual and invisible energy field of pure wellness. Your wish is to be balanced in that spirit in his thoughts and behaviors, now, in this life, in this moment, in his way bodily. You want that harmony, and feel that you can do it without having to leave your body, or in other words, without need to die. Therefore, sticking to that interpretation, look for a balance that allows him to die while he's still alive. Will return to spirit, to formlessness, through death, but you can choose live in true balance enlightened, or acceptance of God, now, in this physical state. Its source is unknown, originates from toxicity. Does not fill the veins, stomach, or anywhere with poison or residue. It is created from well-being, of balance and perfection, and does it effortlessly. That's your heritage spiritual. And love can correct mistakes that distance you from yourself spiritual. Love. Why is love the antidote to the addictions? For a very simple reason, because you are love, is the center of your creation. It is your point of origin and you can also become your point of attraction. As Karl Menninger told his patients, and anyone who suffered and was willing to listen to him, the love heals, those who receive love and what they give it, too. By transcending his addictive habits, you have the opportunity to be both the giver and the recipient of spiritual balm of love. By applying it, you feel balance returning to your life. He no longer pursues a false freedom, and no longer it will attract what it wants. Instead, look for the balance that being connected to your authentic nature. Reconnect to wellness. Our tendency to addictive behaviors decrease considerably as we practice the reconnection with the origin of our being. Many books have been written about how to overcome addictions. There is a countless programs and training centers rehabilitation to help those who are caught in the clutches of drugs, alcohol, from food, from caffeine, from sex, gambling, or anything that fits the description of chasing after something that is not desired. I support any program thought to help people flee from that unbalanced cycle that destroys many lives. My contribution, in this book, is a brief description of the key points which have been extremely useful to be a free person addictions. The following 5 ideas they helped interrupt my thinking and my behavior unbalanced. Practiced with honesty and integrity, can contribute to a new sense of training and well-being that allows break free from unwanted addictions. 1. Everything is based on realignment. It is the first because when practice seriously no longer want to chase what you don't want at the expense of what you do wants. He longs to live in harmony and wishes welfare. It comes from well-being, so that you only need to choose thoughts that tune into your foundations to find a way to get back aligned. Pray often and quietly there wherever you are and whenever you can. Personalize and vary the prayers as this example derived from the prayer of Francis, make me an instrument of your wellness. See always summoning the energy of well-being from your source spiritual. Think like an animal, he would never chase what he doesn't want. Why don't birds catch butterflies? Because they are poisonous. Have you heard about ever of a robin following a therapy to overcome your desire to eat butterflies? It's an absurd example, but is a useful image to remember. So think like a being. Well-being human. And will end up thinking like the divided soul which is, and will be in vibrational harmony with well-being, which is its authentic nature. 2. Love your addictions. If it's food, love it. If it's cocaine, love her. If they're painkillers, love them. If they are cigarettes, love them. Those are some of their best teachers. You have been taught through direct experience no longer wish to be. They dragged him to depths for some reason. It's an intelligent system of which it is a part. There are no accidents in a universe based in omniscience and omnipotence. Thank you to those teachers. If you hate them, curses them, and tries to fight those addictions, tips the balance towards hate and combat. Then it will follow chasing what you don't want because you know is in a weakened state. To struggle weakens, loving enables, so tip the balance towards love. Be thankful for the addictions that have taught him so much. Send them a silent blessing. To the do it, it will become the love that you're. 3. Love yourself. This is the natural consequence of decide to love their addictions. Think about your body as a sacred temple, and extend that respect as a form of love. Be aware, and be grateful by all the organs, all the drops of blood, all the appendages, and all the cells that make up your body. Start this very minute to offer a silent prayer of gratitude for your liver, your heart, and your brain. Say simply, "Thank you, God, for this glorious gift. I appreciate it and, with help, today I will start the process of loving Him unconditionally." If you still feel attracted by substances he despises, recite the silent prayer before ingest them. Love will be the weight in the end added that rebalances your life. One of my American poets preferred. Henry W. Longfellow, we says, "He who respects himself is at except from others, bears a coast mesh that cannot be pierced." When we respect and truly love each other, it's like we have armor flexible, which acts as a shield, made of metal rings and links that protect from the addictive other who has been part of our life. 4. Eliminate the shame. He hasn't done anything wrong. Has not failed, it has only produced results. It's not about bad behavior has had, but what he will do with the results it has produced. If you choose shame and guilt, is choosing the only emotional reaction handicaps you more than any other. Regardless of your current situation of addictions, everything is fine. Ha suffered trauma. Disappointed those people he treated badly. Had to get to those ends. I needed that energy unbalanced that will help you in the generation of other energy will lead to a higher place where is headed right now. He is still a divine being in the eyes of God, despite the weaknesses that you feel you are not worthy of love of the Almighty. I needed all of those experiences. And now what are you thinking in leaving it behind and recovering its source? Spiritual wellness, forget about the shame, will be nothing more than a hindrance and will send you back to that world absurdly unbalanced, where you never have enough of what you don't want. 5. Live with a new knowledge. Finally, create a space in your interior, a private place to which only access you and God. In that space inside, paste the words "I know." This is your invisible connection to God, where purity and well-being define your new I am free from addictions. Although many people distrust you and remember how many times in the past been unable to keep their promises, that is your space of knowledge. From that impassable space, ask God for guidance. Ask Him to ecstatic energy of purity and well-being flow straight to your heart. If you suffer a slip, immediately retreat to that knowledge space. Forgive yourself and see yourself surrounded by love of God. Staying in balance again. I have lived that experience, and I can promise you that you will be provided with all the guidance, direction, and strength you need, and you will get what you want instead of what does not want. It will overcome the imbalance of the addictive thinking begins and ends with the knowledge that, with the help of your source, has everything you need in that very moment to end your imbalance. As one reminds us ancient Hindu saying, God gives food to all the birds, but don't put it on the nest. Realign with God and fly without Him. Weight of addiction. I promise to be in balance and free of addiction is much more exciting. 5. It's not what you eat, is what you believe about what it eats. Balance your desire to feel good with His body with what you give Him to eat and how exercises. If we passionately believe in something still does not exist, we create it. The non-existent is everything that we have not wanted enough. Nikos Kazantzakis. Don't leave your body. This is the house of God, take care of her, only in this body can experience se bye-bye. Nisargadatta Maharaj. Your beliefs reflect current health of your body, as well as your diet and your exercise regimen. If you want a body healthy but his behavior is little healthy, it is evident that it will be unbalanced. But even more revealing are the thoughts and beliefs that has on your health. Obviously, like all the world, wants to enjoy perfect health. Let's put that idealistic wish last imaginary stair step 10 steps. There, at the apex of their wishes regarding health, there is your longing for a body that is healthy and with whoever feels good. Let's see, visualize that ladder of 10 steps having present these two questions. 1. On which rung of the ladder are their behaviors related with his desire for 10 rungs? 2. On which rung of the ladder are their beliefs about their behaviors in relation to desire for 10 rungs? I have done the calculation with someone that he is overweight, and that he is so little in such a way that climbing a few sections of stairs take your breath away. That person is contributing energies of second rung to about 10 wishes steps. In other words, they are very unbalanced. The same can apply to people with many physical illnesses attributable to lifestyle, such as ulcers, hypertension, indigestion, palpitations cardiac, etc. Create a balance where you can honestly say that your body is enjoying an optimum level of health and who is grateful to live in the glorious house of God means to take new decisions on the two questions I have raised. You will be surprised to know that I am not suggesting a radical change in diet or make an exercise program designed to an athlete or marathon runner, although they are not disposable. No, I'm proposing a realignment radical energy beliefs that has about the desire of the 10 rungs. If you're overweight, you're out of shape and suffer unnecessarily from diseases physical that are related to the lifestyle, that radical idea that I have exposed can demand a lot. Determination on his part to overcome his disbelief. Start right now to reread the title of this chapter. You strange to think that his diet or lack of exercise are not responsible for his health. Maybe it has to do with what you believe. The second quote that appears beginning of this chapter is by the author of Zorba the Greek. Zorba is one of the characters in most passionate fiction ever created, housed in a body that it wasn't exactly anyone's dream. Athlete. Nikos Kazantzakis encourages us to believe passionately, because from that belief will manifest desire. The desire of the 10 rungs to enjoy life in a healthy body will manifest when you want it bad enough. And so it is precisely how can you correct the imbalance that has one extreme tilted towards the ground with behaviors and beliefs that are diametrically opposed to what you want. Rebalance your health, rebalancing your beliefs. Deepak Chopra, my friend and colleague. For many years, observed in an occasion, your brain produces a chemical substance that transmits its happiness to 52 million bodily cells, which rejoice and participate. Imagine yourself as I was about to enjoy an ice cream of fruit or a piece of cake birthday. Are you happy, or do you feel guilt and apprehension before taking the first bite? What beliefs have imbued that prevent your brain produce and transmit good news to the rest of your body, including those that are about to become fat cells unhappiness instead of healthy cells happiness? As difficult as it is to accept, it is more important that you change and examine your beliefs about what you eat and how lives that the actual activities of eating and exercise. The mind-body connection has been clearly determined in medical and scientific research. Your beliefs are thoughts, and your thoughts are energy. If it has convinced that what is about to doing will have a deleterious effect on your body, is doing precisely what Kazantzakis proposes, believe passionately about something that is not yet exists. That is, the damage it brings to your body with what you are about to do. It is but a thought, does not about of a physical reality. However, if cling to that thought, facilitates the process of making it a reality physical. Suppose now that you decide to believe passionately about something that is not yet exists, and that something is you with a body perfectly healthy, composed entirely of the well-being that characterized when it materialized in a physical soul. Furthermore, it includes the belief that your body is capable of converting any fuel you receive in healthy and happy cells, a radical idea, perhaps because the majority believes rather just the opposite. Anyway, believe it passionately, although that reality does not exist yet. By adopting the idea that your brain and your body are capable of converting any fuel in healthy cells and happy, the process of looking begins around looking for evidence to support their belief, rather than turn off to systems of contrary beliefs, which do not produce health. Yes, you will say, there are many people who get what they want, when they want, and they don't pay attention to diets, who are not obsessed with weight each day, and not only maintain a normal weight, but they are happy. I am going to think like them for a while to see if it works. When you commit to that radical new idea, guess what happens? Who begins to change their habits? Food. Why? Why eat healthy foods in small portions makes you feel good, and feeling good is what the wish of the 10 is about steps. But it has to start with the thought that makes you feel good, and is as follows: everything I eat is well. I will instruct my body chemistry and my brain so that they turn everything that is in health. Has a whole new cycle of thought to examine, and that passionate new way of thinking on something that does not yet exist is applied also to be physically fit. Shape thought unbalanced. What are your beliefs about efforts to be in shape and physically healthy? Is it necessary for a person suffers every day and has to perform a rigorous exercise routine to be in good physical shape? Those are widely held beliefs from which you must doubt if what you are looking for is one more life balanced. You want a body that look great, and that you feel it like this, that is the desire of the 10 rungs. What kind of thoughts do you have to achieve that desire? Too often their thoughts are what continues: I am not an active person. By a lot of exercise that I do, I can't lose weight or get in shape. No, I can't stand running or sweating. I'm not destined to be an athletic person. These beliefs, and many others like them, keep you on the lowest rungs of that ladder. They also contribute greatly to the obesity crisis and the existence of many diseases related to lifestyle originates with this kind of thinking collective. When you change your thoughts, and what you believe about what is possible for you, change everything, even your physiology. You must fervently believe that you are a specimen of perfect health, thus creating an image of himself in the make it look and feel great. Yes, take that image with you wherever you want, go and believe passionately in your reality will achieve a total change. Now the inner dialogue will sound more or less like this: I am heading towards health perfect. I feel no shame or guilt myself or my behavior. Yes, I want to be a sofa warmer. I will be a healthy, slim, and handsome sofa warmer. I like my body. I will take good care of him because it houses the sacred being that is me. When I start the new ritual of changing the way he looks at his body, this switch to been immersed in a society telling you how you should feel about your body, a company based on companies, merchants who want to profit of his personal dissatisfaction. What they say is that if it is not like a supermodel, you must feel remorse. This is how eating disorders begin. Obesity and physical constitutions weak. If you swallow that brainwash collective, it will be placed at a point of great imbalance between your desire to have a healthy body that makes you feel good, and the disappointing behaviors diaries that lead to poor health. Already feeling exhausted and out of shape, remember who becomes what. Think. Why think of yourself way that makes you have less health perfect? What's the point of looking at body in its present state of deterioration and cling to a set of beliefs guarantee that things will get worse? That's a radical new option for you. Passionately believe in what does not yet exist, and remember the Kazantzakis' observation that the that does not exist is what we have not desired enough. You can adopt a belief system that is so balanced that anyone, nor any pressure social, can weaken or leave the love for himself and respect for the temple sacred is your body. Then you can experience what it feels like to believe passionately about something that is not yet exists. That new belief system will be the balance point, will allow you to enjoy a relationship kind, loving and healthy with his body, and change any self-sabotaging behavior. Act according to your new and passionate belief in something that doesn't exist yet. As your beliefs change, his behavior changes. When Ken see himself as divine creation that emanated from a source of pure and unconditional love, with a total absence of shame and repudiation of oneself, his body has no choice but to enjoy the ride. decide to eat. If your thoughts are, it is my intention that this meal be convert into energy that makes my body more vigorous and strong, his body will start responding accordingly. On when you eliminate the old beliefs that caused anxiety, guilt, worry and even fear, brain will start to produce substances, chemicals that will restore balance, so you will feel good and create a healthy body. Yes, I say to reschedule her thoughts so that you tune into your desire to be and feel healthy, can change little behaviors healthy that caused poor health and imbalance. That is a function of law. This is how William James put it, the father of modern psychology. There is a law in psychology that says that if you form a mental picture of what would like to be, and keeps it and time retains that image enough, soon it will be exactly how he wanted to be. So amazing is the power of our thoughts. But I also say something that goes beyond the idea of his body acting automatically on response to your reprogrammed thought. When I start balancing expectations stereotyped for your body that you don't are in harmony with your desire to be healthy and feel well, you will notice another reaction automatic. Their behaviors will spontaneously start looking for the balance with the expression of your desires. It can happen gradually, but there it is. He sees himself living unafraid or openly focused on your appearance. That wonderful awareness of self-acceptance combines with a strong desire to treat your body with I respect. Your eating habits change without a conscious decision. Change anything. Stop counting calories and just enjoy what you eat. You know you can trust the inherent spiritual wisdom that is programmed in your DNA, in your connection to the source who created the baby that one day you were. You've discovered a better way. Balance and enjoy your life, trusting in your thoughts to attract health you want. You can relax and enjoy your trip. Consciously letting the spirit intervenes through the energy of his thoughts, has tipped the scales in favor of your wishes. Your ego, you know, identifies with his body, has been relegated to a less dominant role. The spirit does not have an excess of fat, does not suffer indigestion, hunger pangs, or habit of eating too much, and there it is where you have now decided to stand. You are choosing thoughts that are in harmony with their original spirit, and in doing so there is no room for unhealthy behaviors. It's in peace with his thoughts, and believes that everything what you do can become a healthy reaction, so it will adopt the same new and automatic response in your how to approach exercise physical well-being. Your image process newly balanced internal confirms the William James statement. I am a human being divinely healthy and fit. Think about it. Create it. Although he still looks like a person overweight and out of shape, say so equally. You are starting the process of believe passionately in something does not exist yet. Affirming it and turning it into your inner reality, will trigger a new autoresponder which echoes your wish. What will happen next is that he will go out for a ride. Then, perhaps, he will participate in something that was not part of the balance of his life up to that moment, perhaps a race, a yoga class, or sign up for a gym. All this will happen without any effort, because you will agree with your thoughts. The imbalance between your desire for a healthy body that makes you feel wonderfully and persistent unhealthy habits cannot be remedied simply by changing those habits. You must have the firm determination to learn the art of passionate belief into something that does not yet exist, and refuse to let the image distort, for its fault or that of others. Actually, you are not what you eat or how you exercise performs, but what he believes of the self that in this moment is originating from their thoughts. Be sure to remind yourself, I get what I think, whether I want it or no. 6. You cannot discover light by analyzing the darkness. Balance your desire for prosperity and his habits of scarcity. All men are free, go all the way who are able or willing to come, but only the degree to which they think is what determines the level they will reach. Ayn Rand. God wants us to have it all. When expressing life, we fulfill the law of God's abundance, but we do it only when we realize that the good that exists is enough, only when we know that all God's gifts are give freely and fully like the air and the sunlight. Ernest Holmes. If I looked for the light, I would dodge obviously the dark. Would know with certainty that spending time analyzing dark places, blind in the dark, would be the best way to discover and experience the light. Now change the light and dark words from this example by the words abundance and scarcity. The same logic should apply. No, you will find plenty by analyzing and sinking into consciousness shortage. However, it often happens because there is a disparity between desire for prosperity and the absence of is in your life. Read the quote at the beginning again. From the Ernest Holmes chapter, Express Life, we fulfill the law of God's abundance. Think about it as in a dictation of God legally binding, as in a law. Even St. Paul observed that God can offer you all blessings in abundance. I came to the conclusion that the prosperity is something that is always available, because that is the essence of source from which it originates. If we come from unlimited abundance, then we have to be what we were. Scarcity does not come from place where you were born or the goods cheeses parents accumulated or their economy. Called the problem of scarcity due to the fact that you diverted your belief, separating it from the connection original, towards unlimited abundance and began to live and analyze scarcity, the equivalent of the dark above mentioned. I ask you to do a change and analyze the light of prosperity and correct that imbalance between what you want and the way you live. How do you avoid expressing the life and does not fulfill the law of God abundance? To express life and being recipient of the blessing of abundance of God, you should know when you have thoughts and behaviors that unbalance their desires. The voice of His position on the scales is something I have written repeatedly in this book. You becomes what you think about all day. This is a list of situations that they cause imbalances. Insist on what is missing in your life. Conversations that focus mainly on what is missing in his life. Complain to anyone who hear about the reasons that have prevented from getting more. Cultivate an inner self-image same as a person who simply he's out of luck. Those ways of thinking and being put into there is an energy that attracts precisely what activates in your life. Yes, think scarcity, it will create scarcity. Yes, talk to others about your shortcomings, it will only attract more shortages. If you analyze those insufficiencies, then they will appear more shortcomings. I am aware that this can be simplistic, that is, change only your thought and the money will enter baskets. But before it dismiss, think that an existence unbalanced requires you to look at the barriers and in the resistances that erected in a world in which God can offer you all your blessings abundance. Remove your resistance. Your desire to attract prosperity represents a spiritual requirement elevated. It is in perfect harmony with the law of abundance that has been originated. Your imbalances are energies in the form of thoughts that, according to you, will bring prosperity desired. Here are 7 of the most common thoughts they do manifestation virtually impossible of prosperity. I call them the 7 No Magnificent, because each belief guarantees that you will be trapped in the scarcity as Ayn Rand describes in the quote at the beginning of this chapter. The degree with which they think is the factor determinant to create a life of prosperity. These are the 7 systems of thoughts that keep you unbalanced. 1. It is not God's will. When you blame God for not having what you need or what you want, is resorting to a false justification for accept what he has had to live. On reality, as St. Paul reminds us, God is more than willing to offer us the blessing of abundance. In fact, God is pure abundance, but you are the that is unbalanced in the balance of prosperity. Attributing the responsibility for its shortcomings divine will, creates enormous resistance energetic. You are asking the universe to send you more than you think. The solution to remove that barrier, which applies to the 7 energies of resistance, is to change that belief. Carlos Castaneda, in Trip to Istlan, said, "If I really felt that my spirit is simply distorted, I'd fix it, I'd purge it, I'd fix it would perfect, because there is none another task in life that deserves more the sorrow." How do you fix it, purge it and it perfect? You must first discover when you have a fallacious thought, and replace that thought with something like I am a creation of God. God's abundant. I must be what I was. Be like what I was means that God wants me to enjoy complete prosperity. So is how will I express life from now on? If necessary, write and print those affirmations and return to them until be a perfect reminder balanced. His lack is not a fault of God. You have a choice, so choose between. Reconnect with abundance or be unbalanced, because he thinks that's the God's plan for you. 2. Supply is limited. This thought supposes an enormous resistance restoring balance in the prosperity/scarcity balance. Thoughts like this is what we have to get by and not everyone can be rich, we need poor for maintain global balance, I guess I'm one of those poor are similar thoughts of limitation, and will not attract a life prosperous. In fact, they will make the target totally unattainable. Again, the solution to remove that kind of resistance is to purge it, and replace those thoughts with new ones, energies that fit more harmoniously with the truth of the world in which he lives. Try to think about money as in an ocean, the supply is infinite, more than enough to satisfy your needs. The amount of money that circulates around the globe does not decrease by much that you take for yourself. By then? Because, after all, money, like ocean water, it must return to its source. It just circulates, just like the energy. It can carry 2,000 liters of ocean, and it will not change. This is how it works, abundance is gathered from abundance, and the abundance remains. Can discard entirely the idea of insufficiencies and start to see money as an energy. With an infinite supply. It is necessary for life, like air, water, nitrogen, and carbon. 3. I don't deserve it. This is a simple rule of thumb: when you don't think you deserve a full life of prosperity, then it will attract precisely what he believes, which is, by of course, a flow of scarcity and deficiencies. If you think that attracting money to your life is somehow incompatible with a spiritual consciousness, then it is erecting barriers of resistance to stop that flow. If you want to live an abundant life and is attracting the opposite, it is obvious that it is energetically unbalanced. His desire is highly spiritual, but what offers that desire is his feeling of not deserve it. And being as the universe is, offers you precisely what you believe for being unworthy. To change that idea and rebalance itself on that scale, it must realign your desire with the energy of your thought. You must remember that you are a piece divine of God. Feel that it is not worthy of God's abundance is what same as denying its spiritual essence and also insult its creator. Remember who has come to this world to be like God, but he walked away from that idea when believed more in their separation than in their unity with its source. Start changing that attitude unbalanced, cultivating an affirmation inside until it becomes your second nature. Silently repeat something like, I am a piece of God, a divine, individualized expression of God. I am worthy and I deserve everything God is and everything that flows in my life. The abundance I desire is on the way, and I will do everything I can to avoid, obstruct and resist that flow of inspiration divine, for I have abilities and talents limited. If you are convinced that you do not have the ability or talent to attract abundance, is overloading the balance with a continuous supply shortage. That is a great symptom of resistance, which disguises itself as an excuse to be insufficient in the beam of balances of the prosperity. Reread the observation made by Ayn Rand. She didn't say it's the degree of talent that determines how far a person arrives. He said the degree with the what they think is the determining factor. Your inner vision will always make triumph your innate talent. Actually, yes, confident that the skills or capabilities you need are at your fingertips. Disposition is in good way. The first step, and the most important, is to forget all those excuses you have made up about your inability. It is essential that you create an inner image of himself already carrying a prosperous life, although not yet have materialized. That is called think from the end, forces you to start an action program that is in balance with your inner image. So, and that's the crucial part, must become the abundance that want. It is so, it should be, instead of look for it outside of yourself. These 3 steps help you discard the idea of that the situation you are in is due to a lack of talent. First, forget the excuse of lack of talent. Second, create an inner image in the that attracts prosperity. And third, act like it's what you want. Has so much talent as you have decided to have until this moment. Change the image, and, surprise, his talents too, they will change. When I was a child, and even in the university, I was often told no had what it took to be writer or speaker, and until I decided you will follow my own inner images, talents did not begin to be visible. By then? Because the more I developed my life from the balance point of what that I considered correct, more practical had, and more aligned were I and the universe. In that alignment attracted and recognized all the opportunities, guidance available to me. Yes, I would have listened to those who claimed know everything about my talents, would have attracted precisely what he believed, a lack of capacity. 5. I have never had any luck. The universe in which you live, and that lives in you, runs on energy, and only with her. Nothing happens until something moves, said Albert Einstein. Everything vibrates, even what seems still. Your universe works with the law of attraction, which means that the energy is adjusted to another similar energy. Your thoughts are vibrations of energy. Low-rise thoughts, those who are unbalanced with the energy source, attract responses from low energy of the universe. The high and spiritual thoughts activate identical vibrations, which bring what you want in harmony with your source. That said, there is no room for luck in the universe. If you have an accident, it is not due to his bad luck, is not his fault. It is simply the vibrational partner of who collided with you in that moment. Seeing your world that way can better exercise choice over who is paired with. When changing the low vibrational energy of your thoughts to higher vibrations, puts in there is an energy going that tries to adjust to your highest desires, though that seems silly to your formed mind to be in the service of the ego. I urge you to start the process of seeing things from a vibrational position, rather than good luck versus bad luck. That is, I recommend that you adopt that belief system, that you have attracted in your life exactly what you have chosen for. Tune in. If your luck seems bad, change your expectations. Do the efforts necessary to be in balance with what you want, rather than with what has attracted. Luck will disappear as a deciding factor. 6. It has always been this way. When he turns to his personal history to justify its current imbalance in the scales of abundance, actually is expressing, I have spent my life attracting scarcity, and I intend to continue doing the exact same thing. To think that the past is responsible for your continued dissatisfaction is an important resistance source. Probably have taught that if you don't pay attention to the mistakes of the past, is doomed to repeat them. That's my advice: keep your thoughts on the mistakes of the past, guarantees that they will continue manifesting in the present. I think you'll feel better if you clear your personal history of any deficiency that has appeared in his life. Refuse to think about what has not arrived to materialize, unless you want more of the same. Avoid talking about your sad past. Do not identify yourself as someone whose childhood or youth was characterized by scarcity and insufficiency. Rather, review your whole story as a series of steps. What do you need to take to get to the present awareness of your endless potential for abundance? Be thankful for everything you haven't happened. Then leave the resistance, state your desires, and rebalance your thinking. Adjust to those desires, and rebalance your thought to fit those wishes. Affirm, it is my intention to have thoughts that vibrate perfectly with my desire for abundance in all areas of my life. I abandon all thoughts that put my orientation, and consequently my power of attraction, in what has been or has not been. Is the key to regaining balance. 7. I don't know how to think about abundance for me. When you are convinced that the prosperity consciousness is like a foreign language, has again opted for resist rather than allow. It's possible. Don't think you have the ability to think in the way that I have elaborated in this chapter, but I assure you that you can, and in large quantities. You, the Rockefeller, the Hartfords and the Kennedys all emanate from the same source of unlimited abundance. She is you and you it's her. He is convinced that he does not think this way because it has been allowed to believe in the separation from its source. Can think of abundance, even if you never have practiced in his life. At this very moment, you can practice the practice of allowing only prosperous thoughts lived in his conscience. Replace I don't even know how to think like that for I am abundant. I attract prosperity, I am in balance with this wish, and I will not think of any another way. This is how they are created new habits. Turn that into your reality, express one thought each time. Emulating Ernest Holmes, all this supposes to express his life to fulfill God's law of abundance. His existence is a gift from a source prosperous and abundant well-being. B. In balance means that it is expressing life, radiating that aware with your thoughts. Consequently, their expectations support a way of life in beautiful balance. This teaching of the great Sufi poet Rumi encourages you to start each day with high vibrations of living expectations receptive to messages from your source. The breeze at dawn has secrets what to tell him, don't go back to sleep. I remember this very morning when I woke up, in the middle of the night to many people, and that morning breeze that reveals secrets to me at dawn new day. You have the right to all divine gifts. Being in balance is one of the secrets. Try it and do what do, don't go back to sleep. 7. Fight against adverse conditions makes they increase their power over you. Balance your desire to live in a world in peace with the messages of evil with which bombard continually. Everything good you have comes from God. Everything the bad comes only from you. The Quran. Seeing and hearing the wicked is already the start of evil. Confucius. Every day we hear from different sources that the world is upside down, that evil is everywhere and that the terrorism is a way of life. The people seem determined to kill each other. With more and more violence, while recruit the kids to blow up suicide bombers in the name of God. The radio, television, and the news on the net give us an incessant display of the inhumanity among men. Family members quarrel, teenagers kill their classmates at school, and terrorist cells shake consciences in every corner of the earth, from train stations to places of worship. I could go on describing how we are continuously bombarded by the media, but I will leave it because that would be violating the central premise of this chapter. What I am trying to say is that we seem to live in a totally unbalanced world, where our desires to feel peaceful are challenged by a myriad of non-peaceful energies that are deemed newsworthy. But in this matter we can choose. And we can choose to realign ourselves energetically with our desire to live in this world in a peaceful way, no matter what happens around us, and despite the non-peaceful energy that we are too often subjected to. We must choose to maintain a quiet existence with ourselves, even as others spread fear, anger, and hatred on this violent planet. After all, massive collective effort throughout human history by those in power has taught people who to fear, and worse, who to hate. Had we lived in America in 1750, we would have been told that it was our patriotic duty to hate the French as well as Native Americans. 25 years later, we would have been told that we should no longer hate the French, but the British. Now fast forward 87 years, and if we lived in the South, we'd be told to hate Northerners, and Northerners would be told the same thing about Southerners, even though they were related. By the way, it is no longer mandatory that we hate the British. Fast forward 34 years, and it would no longer be necessary to hate the Spanish. In fact, it was acceptable to love again those who lived in a different latitude from our own country. 25 years later, I was fine seen loving the Spanish, but we should hate the Germans, and some decades later it was added to the Japanese to the mandatory hate list. Then it was right again to stop hate the Germans and the Japanese, but we had to reject the communists, who years later were in North Korea or North Vietnam. In other words, there has always been a number of people who have been added or deleted from the hate inventory. During long time we were required to hate the Russians, then the Iranians, we could love the Iraqis, but only for a short time. Then we changed the hate list members, we were forced to hate those before beloved Iraqis, and it was okay to love the Iranians who only 10 years ago they said we hate. Then the Taliban came, and categories still darker as terrorists to what before we were asked to love, and the insurgents, whoever they are right now, they became obligatory targets of our hate. This litany of hate goes on and on. The faces change, but the message remains. They tell us whom to love, but they will never recognize that the enemy we should hate is not a nationality, the enemy is self-hatred. Remove yourself from all hate lists. Arthur E. Gendorf, in Healing from the War, offers advice that is relevant to our efforts to rebalance our lives and live gently. Only together will we create a culture that replaces the cycles of battle and withdrawal, not with our fear of war but mastered a higher form of lifetime. The seed of that culture is determination of the people, and then of small groups and communities, of dedicate our lives to the greater vision of all times. Don't expect that one day a wise man enlighten us, don't expect a government passes just laws, don't wait a revolution that corrects the injustices of a cruel world, and not ride a crusade to overthrow a distant enemy that outweighs us. Each one of us, alone and with all others, is responsible for creating joy, choosing an appropriate lifestyle, here and now. As soon as this purpose returns primary, we can return to the incessant task of providing well-being to the others, fairness and integrity to our government, and create constructive programs to bring about change here and elsewhere parts. When you're so inspired, don't we have to wait for the final result, get compensation? There is nothing better way to live or die. The words I hear loudest in this insightful observation are, every one of us, alone and with all others, is responsible for creating joy, choosing an appropriate lifestyle, here and now. I propose that the first to do individually to create joy is removing hate from your conscience. May be surprising, but let it settle. Those who hate war are so responsible for the presence of this what they hate their enemies and fight with in order to kill them. Those who hate the crime is part of the problem. Of the crime. Cancer haters do of him an enemy and thus become part of the disease problem. Like everything else in this book, the secret to rebalancing life is not necessarily change your behavior, but to realign and create a culture that replaces the cycles of battle and retreat. Every time we use the strength to resolve our disputes, we instantly create a counterforce, and this is largely responsible for the endless cycles of war that have characterized history. Human force, counterforce, more force, and the battles continue, generation after generation. The same thing happens in your interior. A thought of hate creates a thought of revenge, and then more thought of hate creates a thought of revenge, and then more thoughts of hate as a reaction to the above. And the really worrying is that those thoughts of hate and revenge will define their existence. They turn into your point of attraction. Your initial desire to live peacefully, in a world that according to they say he's gone crazy, it's a wish spiritually balanced. For materialize your desire, you must extend the thoughts that fit the energy of that wish. Thoughts of hate, they will not flourish in their desired tranquility, and the reason, stated repeatedly in this book, is as follows: it attracts more and more of what you want to eradicate. Break the cycle. You can get rid of thoughts of hate, despite the news from the different media, moved exclusively for profit. How much the more you believe in the message of hate, the more you those who sell it will benefit. On change, you can decide to be an instrument of happiness. How does an instrument of joy before a cacophony of constant and disturbing news? Yes, is in balance, has more chances of accessing the love and peace that you are. Remember your mission, and keep your desire to be in balance and in peace, affirming that for much that millions of people decide live in hate, that is not your destiny. No, decided to live in a world where everyone they have the same vision. Your thoughts become, I am a creation divine, I choose to be connected to that divinity in all my thoughts and in all my actions. So how do you react when hears about dead people in explosions caused by terrorists, or in situations other than absolutely peaceful? This is what you should think and say: I want to feel good, God. I didn't sign up for the war or the warlike thoughts. I am an instrument of peace, and I send thoughts calm and loving to people and the places in the world that seem desperately need them. I refuse to collaborate with the energy of hate in anywhere and at any time. The alternative to that kind of thinking peaceful are anger, hate and fear, that align perfectly with a very unpleasant energy, and its reaction immediate is to seek revenge. A is created counterforce, and you are aligned with the same energy of hate that caused the feeling of absolute uneasiness. What if, in response to terrorist suicide bombers, treat the wounded and we mourn the dead, instead of doing publicity of the tragedy in the telenews? What if no one reported the consequences of such violence? No news. No movies. And if we choose to respect the pain of the relatives and survivors marketing photos of your affliction? And if those kinds of thoughts emerged when those acts of hate took place? The people who perpetrate those incidents act on their own thoughts of hate, hoping that others respond in the same way and that the hate keeps growing. But if it wasn't news, if no one paid attention to it, its acts would necessarily stop. You can be one of those people stubbornly refuse to add low-energy thoughts to hate you surrounds them. By doing so, you can contribute to the disappearance of that feeling. Can act individually to create more joy refusing outright to feel hate in any of your thoughts. Break the cycle of violence in the world not with the hate violence, but being your own instrument of peace. Choose to experience peace focusing in its reason for being. The passage from the Holy Quran, to the beginning of this chapter, he states that all the good you have comes from God and everything evil comes from you. After accessing your higher energy, you can process unbalanced events humans create from the acceptance of God. There is no hate in God, only love. You can experience peace by balancing everything that transpires around with the consciousness of God. Nothing requires you to react to evil with a mental response not spiritual. You have the possibility of focus your mental energy on what you want, and, in doing so, create a new world. Let me explain how I respond to the bombardment of messages that focus how bad the world is. First, I remind myself that for every act of evil there are a million acts of goodness. I choose to believe that people are essentially good and that, staying in that system beliefs, I help spread that awareness. When many of we assume that sacred notion of that all the good we have comes from God, we will learn to live collectively in that consciousness calm. Second, I know for sure what to feel. Hate in my heart will never bring me peace. Hate will only contribute to increase the presence of those energies man-made destructive. Yes. That I decide to place my attention on my reason of being, and feeling good, or feeling God. I support peace, not war. As you observed Albert Einstein, I am not only a pacifist, but a militant pacifist. Nothing will put end the war unless the people refuse to go to war. I.e. Albert Einstein Award recipient Yeshiva's Einstein College of Medicine University, I would humbly add, already unless people refuse to have never bellicose thoughts. In the long road to liberty. Nelson Mandela wrote, to make peace with an enemy is do work with that enemy, and that enemy becomes our partner. I know that we are all partners as well as children of God. That's how I think, and when I see images of a world that is legs above because many have forgotten, I still choose to feel the presence of God in me, and I know we'll eventually learn to live like this collectively. But for it is necessary that each of we refuse to be an instrument of war in all our thoughts, and, consequently, in all of our behaviors. Adolf's appointed successor Hitler, Hermann Göring, is quoted in the Nuremberg Diary saying what following, it is clear that the population wants war, but, after all, it is the leaders of the country who determine policy, and it always turns out very easy to drag the population, both in a democracy as in a dictatorship, in a parliament or in a dictatorship communist, with or without votes. You can always make the population obey the leaders. That is easy. Only you have to tell them that they are attacked and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and for exposing the country to danger. It works the same on all countries. I decide not to be one of those people who let themselves be dragged. I refuse to be forced to obey any leader try to convince me that my beliefs of peace make me someone unpatriotic. When an official from the Pentagon asked him why the US military censored Gulf War images, replied, if we let the population saw those things, they would not. There will be another war. Well, that's my goal, to live in a world where warlike thoughts disappear because we focus all our mental energy in our reason for be more than what we hate. The ex-president Dwight Eisenhower, who he was also commander of the forces allies in World War II, once observed, all the weapons that are manufactured, all the warships that are launched, all the rockets that are launched, mean, in the ultimate sense, a robbery. All those who are hungry and do not know he feeds them, those who are cold and don't they are given shelter. That armed world just spend money. Spend the sweat of its workers, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of their children. It is not a way of life in a real sense. This is a call for you, us, and our world is balanced. The peace demands heroic thinking and purity of conscience. When I remember that persists my personal desire to live a satisfying life with God. Third, when I see and hear evil, I remind myself, I promise to be part of that hate. Yes, well, others have done it, me. I will remain with the inner sense of peace to whom I am destined, and I will surround those who they behave perversely with the same light energy. Simply I refuse to go to war in my thoughts. I choose to be a light bearer for the dark places that are deprived of that kind of energy illuminating. Finally, while I'm still getting messages of violence, I remind myself same time and again we have the ability to choose how to respond to all of them. I know that if I feel hate in response to hate, I only contribute to the presence of hate in the world, and that I also crawl to a place where the presence of God is less. As it says in ancient Chinese proverb, if you decide take revenge, you had better dig 2 graves. I know we can focus our energy in showing our love for God, loving each other. And I know that I can choose to see what's good in it world and not just what is bad. When those messages of violence and hate pounce on me, I press the button mute or even the off button, and I remember what the Dalai Lama said, compassion and love are not mere luxuries. As a source of so much peace inside and outside, are fundamental for the continued survival of our species. These are extremely words that describe our need to be in balance. I remain balanced in that dimension of being a peaceful world, repeating them over and over time. Now I know for sure that I am forced to be in a consciousness of compassion and love, not only for keep my balance, but to help ensure the survival of our species. There can be no better calling than that. 8. Love is what remains when the infatuation fades. Balance your desire for love with the feelings of not having enough love. Those who seek love only put revealed his own lack of love, and those who never have love find it. Only the ones you have love find love, and they should never look for it. D.H. Lawrence. He who comes to do good calls the door, he who loves finds the door open. Rabindranath Tagore. Love is something we want, and why not? The more love we receive, the more loved we feel, and also we feel better. Feel good, God, is to feel balanced and in perfect harmony with the source of our being. So it is clear that one of our highest and most fervent desires is to be the receiver of an incessant flow of love. What creates this enormous imbalance between what we want and how we feel? There is an irony about correctness of that balance, and the observation of D.H. Lawrence at the start of this chapter describes it perfectly. Like all imbalances important that I have described in this book, rebalancing always involves a realignment of energy, which is not obtained simply by memorizing strategies or adopting new behaviors. On the contrary, it is essential to know what kind of guidelines vibrational energy sends your desires. On this case, your desire is to feel good, having as much love in his life as can balance. That is not achieved by demanding or seeking out of oneself. The key part of the quote Lawrence is, only those who have love find love, and never have to look for it. Later in this chapter, I will return to these significant words. However, before looking for ways to apply that concept in your life, you would like analyze the following statement Lawrence: those who have no love never find love. If there is little love, it means, at least in the interpretation of Lawrence, don't we have love? Let's study this idea. The factor of the lack of love in this imbalance. If you're not getting the love that want, it is advisable to explore what are the causes of that state. Evidently, most of us want to blame this lack of love to some external factor. Ourselves. It's a waste of time and energy, but often feel well do it because the blame seems ease the pain, albeit briefly. Without, however, the energy of guilt makes remain unbalanced, whether we blame ourselves, others, Being balanced is based on premise that he receives in life that what it is aligned with. Has read it so many times throughout this book that you know what I mean. You get what you think. Although you can justify your state of lack of love with thoughts of not be appreciated, or choose to see the world as a place without love, you will follow experiencing imbalance feel good because you don't have enough love in your life. Wait for them to change others, or that some kind of movement in the world that restores your balance won't work if you don't undertakes to take responsibility to change your way of thinking. If you delegate in others that change, will be giving the commands of his life to someone or something outside from you. And that will lead you right to the disaster. The point I wish to highlight now is that if the feelings of feeling disappointed in the field of love form part of his life, it is because he has aligned your thoughts and behaviors with the lack of love. As it does. Not being able to match his desire to love with thoughts that harmonize with the force of your desire. For example, I have never been able to hold a love relationship. I'm not enough attractive for someone to love me like I want to be loved. The people are cruel and take advantage of me. I see hostility and anger everywhere. It's a world without affection with a shortage of love. All those thoughts, and others similar, create a point of attraction that is unbalanced with a desire to receive abundant love. Draws in his life precisely what it is thinking, and has inadvertently signed up for the club Cinnamore, with an affiliation that includes the majority of the population, say, people who are disappointed by the amount of love they don't get introduced into their empty hearts. This is reversible if it changes its alignment and removes resistance to fulfilling your desire of love. Start by ending your search for love. What does the poet mean by the who seek love only put of manifest their own lack of love? When you look for something, you feel that what is chasing is what is missing from his life. If it is love, for example, what is actually saying is, I'm experiencing a lack of love and in me search I hope to fill that void. But this approach is wrong, since instead of filling the void of love, alone will unbalance it more, and the lack of love is still your experience. By then? Because the lack of love weighs more on him than love. Your thoughts are focused on finding what's missing while your wish is that love flow in your life. That misalignment continues attracting more of what it lacks. Is thinking of the love that is not there. The universe cooperates, tuning in vibrationally, precisely with what you are thinking. How can do the universe? Simply tune into that vibration thoughts through the law of attraction. You must turn off the searchlights, fire the rescue team, and replace it by an energy of thoughts loving, an inner security of receive love. You originated in a place of the spirit that has been defined by the love. When you rebalance your life to that, your desire, your thoughts, and your attitude form a loving partnership, you will realize that your wish is really an act of God. The longing for love is a desire to be more like God in his thoughts. With that awareness, immediately realizes to look abroad for what you already it's supposed to be real stupidity. No one more can give it to you. As D.H. says Lawrence, those who have no love never find love. And it's because those who don't possess love are focused on not having what they want, instead of focusing on what that they already are. Also, those who have no love, they think they don't deserve that love they want. And you know what? Keep attracting further evidence of his unworthiness. With the searchlights off, and heading rescue of a person at rest permanent, you can devote your attention to balance the authentic means to your disposition to receive abundant love. That's the irony, summed up perfectly. In the poet's conclusion when he says only those who have love find love, and they never have to look for it. Become love. As the title of this suggests chapter, my definition of love goes further beyond vehemence and excitement experienced at the beginning of infatuation. Ultimately, those unleashed passions are appeased, and what remains is authentic love, or balance, what I was looking for. What is the example essential to illustrate the latter? Is love as God loves, extend affection that defines its own creation to the outside, whenever possible. That kind of love makes me forget her own ego, and that you want with more intensity for others what he wants for himself. This is how it works. Act of creation. His creator did not. He demands nothing for having given him life, I know offered freely and abundantly, and it is not exclude no one. You must not pay God for giving him life, or for the air that you need to live, or for the water you drink to ensure its existence, or by the sun it gives you vital energy. Without any of those ingredients that are given for free, you couldn't follow living. That is the love that God offers. To balance your life with more love, you need to adjust your thoughts and behaviors with those of its source, being love as God is. That it supposes to be aware of when judging yourself or others, as if you or they were unworthy of love. Should thus eliminate their need to be right in favor of being nice to myself, himself, and with others, and extend that kindness everywhere. This implies giving love of self and others instead of demand it. Then his loving gesture of goodness is sincere because he feels that the love flows from within. It is no longer about ask for something in return. So difficult? No, at least it seems that way to you. Love belongs to your state natural, but his ego is not part of that condition. The ego dominates because it has separated from his God self, the loving self who came here from a place of love, totally unconditional, divine. Ha carried with him for so long that idea of ego and of his own importance, his need to be correct, which has fallen into the delusion of believing that the ego of the self represents who you are. Since we are talking about imbalance, you have chosen by a belief based on illusion. Ha let that illusion be the force dominant, and has thus created, through its ego-centered me, a heavy imbalance in your life. You want to feel love, the real thing, the love that is the pure essence of his being, the love that is you, but you feel empty in place of love. Why is it so? Cause the void can only be filled with love, opening the connection of the heart with the spirit of love that is originates who knows where, but that is feel inside. It's your empty space. And nobody else. Consequently, only you can fill it. Your goal is to ask that love settles inside you to make his presence known, so that be aware that it is so full of love that has no other alternative than offer it. That's all you have to do, ask and receive. If it does, it will attract more than you are giving. You can only give what carry inside. Recovering from that imbalance depends on your willingness to reconnect with your source of being and become instrument of love. You must swear, from this moment, see yourself exclusively in terms of love, and invite love to accompany you 24 hours a day. That is one affirmation that will help you stay in the way. Holy Spirit, guide me. Now, this simple and powerful statement tune into love. Contempt or self-rejection cannot disturb that balance. He only has love to give. When you despise or rejects himself or others, is vibrationally attuned to those energies, and they will continue to appear in their life. Many people blame others, or to a cold and hostile world, of little love they receive compared to what they want. Any disparities that exist between the love you want and the one you receive is a mirror image, a reflection of what he is thinking. If you give hate, you will receive hate. If you give love, love will pour into his life. Imagine a container of the measure of your heart. That container is the only source of all thoughts. Whenever you think of something, you should go to that container, choose a thought and send it to the world. Following with the metaphor, what is really important is not consists of choosing positive thoughts and loving and make your world regain balance, but what is in the container, i.e. what is in the deposit of the heart, which has in its interior, to give to others. That inner container is connected to an infinite supply of love. Just baby return your thoughts to that source to fill them with love, self-love, love of the world, love of life, love of others, and, more importantly, love for source of your being. In that way, that's what that he will have to give and, consequently, what will receive. It has been said that the difference between that we live in ordinary levels of human consciousness and what we call saints is that they never forget God, not even an instant. They are happy when life is hard, they are patient when others are impatient, and are affectionate when others respond with hate. Why? Thanks to that container. Normally people, they have a container from which they extract loving thoughts on certain circumstances. The saint holds a vessel interior where there are only those kinds of feelings, from which it flows and in which love enters freely. So instead of working for simply change your thoughts in order to become a being gentle and loving, why not aim at the moon and think like the saint he is you? Focus on the container inside. When you continually say, Holy Spirit, guide me now, you will see how your container overflows with so many loving thoughts that is impossible that no type of negativity alter your inner balance. What love looks like through the eyes of a child. These are some pearls that describe what love is, from the perspective of a group of children 4 to 8 years. While you work to restart the balance beam loving in your life, keep in mind these refreshing thoughts on what it is love. When someone loves you, the way as your name says is different. Know that your name is safe in his mouth. Love is when you go out to eat and you give someone your fries without him have to give you theirs. Love is when my father prepares coffee for my mother, and take a sip before to give it to him to be sure that he is okay. Love is when my mother gives to me father the best piece of chicken. During my piano recital, I was on stage scared to death. I looked at all the people they were watching and I saw my father waving at me and smiling. He was the only one. I no longer had afraid. And my favorite is this, love is what is in the room with you at Christmas if you stop open presents and listen. There is. Look inside and around. I listened. Love is what remains when infatuation disappears, because the love is an unlimited source. Offer it to others. Share your fries. Give someone the best piece of chicken. Say hello and smile to the universe, and you will know what did Victor Hugo mean when observed that love is the reduction of universe to a single being. Love is not only what remains when the infatuation fades, but also defines the source of the that we proceed. Elizabeth Barrett Browning describes in a poem the end of life as a return to pure love. 3/4 Guess who's holding you? Death, I said. But then, sounded the dazzling answer. 3/4 not death, but love. So love is really what remains when even the body has missing. 9. The earth is full of heavens. Balance your spiritual life with your material life. Life in the world and life in the spirit are not incompatible. The Upanishads. Most men live without be totally aware that they are being spiritual. Søren Kierkegaard. We should not think of heaven as a place where we arrive as soon as we leave earthly existence. Plus well, it seems to me that you want experience heaven here on earth. As the title of this chapter suggests, a poem by Elizabeth Barrett Browning, the earth itself is full of heavens. But do you see any heaven in your daily life? Yes, the answer is no, it is that it is unbalanced. Has probably done of your physical world the main center of his life, paying little or no pay attention to the heavenly part of your earthly existence. What does that look like? Imbalance. When you focus most of the energy of your life in the material world, is in a continuous state concern for his, and feels as if I could never win the game life. All your mental energy is practically concentrating on what she has and what you don't have. Evaluate your world based on topics as material as what brand of car do you have, or did you see the fashion? You may feel inferior because other people own more things than you. This imbalance between the world's spiritual and material usually involves have more debt. Your desire to own bigger, better and more expensive things leads to borrowing money and contracting higher financial obligations. To the short time, the debts exceed their ability to pay for those purchases materials. When he's openly involved in the physical, and excludes the spiritual, he focuses his life on winning, on being number one and on establishing comparisons with others. Preoccupation with the material aspects of life leads to a superficial view of one's existence, where appearance is considered more important than substance. In fact, what you see from the outside overrides what you feel. What others think is the most important measurement tool, and how much it adjusts to the criteria imposed from outside becomes the most important. A devastating aspect of the spiritual/material imbalance is the amount of time and mental energy devoted to financial considerations. Money becomes the most important criterion for evaluating everything, including your happiness, your inner peace, your feelings about your worth as a human being. Everything is measured on a grid of prices or economic costs. How much is it worth? What is the price? Can I afford it? Will it hold its value? Do I have to insure it? What if it is stolen? Will I be able to buy it again? Your inner world is full of thoughts of cost and money values in metallic. In his imaginary balance of balance, the heavier side is decompensated by thoughts that emerge from a consciousness in which the appearance, performance, and acquisitions are all you get. That awareness prevents him from recognizing that there, now, where he lives, is full of heavens. Instead of looking for heaven in the earth, is condemned by his process of thought to live with the consequences of that disproportionate vision of the lifetime. The impact of imbalance. When you are out of balance, your life is lopsided to the side material of the balance, and the price to pay it is very expensive. The most serious consequence is that he sees himself in a way false. Its true essence is spiritual, more than physical, but is not capable of recognize it. Your infinite self is never born and never go dead. When the balance is off balance in favor of the material world, is identifying with an ally unstable that is always changing. His body, its possessions, its achievements, and its finances are ephemeral. They come and go like wind. Every time you think you have achieved an objective, either in the physical aspects or in quantities of money, something will change. In those forums will always return to some form of struggle, uncertainty, and anxiety. Your concern about being so materially unbalanced in the balance scale is full of stress and worries. His obsession with the body and the way it looks turns into bitterness and anguish as it ages, and converts what you believed your real self in a mere I remember, in an illusion that cannot recuperate. Likewise, your possessions decrease, become outdated, lose their value, or simply they disappear due to its imbalance in this dimension. You feel empty, without target and scammed. All the hard work and dedication invested in their acquisitions, achievements, and reputation are almost completely emptied of meaning. The result is disappointment, regret, and perhaps hostility towards the world. But you can't blame the world for it. All that anxiety that leads to stress is avoidable if you choose to balance material/spiritual balance. Everything that need to get is a balance, a cut clean between those two aspects of itself same. The title of this chapter, The Land is Full of Sky, intends to give understand that it is okay here and now, not in another place, in the distant future, or after the death of his physical self. Heaven is here now, at this moment, when I find that balance point. Match the scale of balance. Heaven is a state of mind, no a situation, since the spirit is in everything and everywhere. You can place the same level their material and spiritual life, making a conscious decision. Look for the unfolding of the spirit in everything what you do and with everyone you know find. I personally do it, making an effort to see my world like I'm looking through it of a lens that would filter the form and all the material aspects of what I see, and that only allowed me to observe the spiritual energy that allows it to exist what I am perceiving. Try to put on those imaginary magic glasses and see how everything seems different. The natural world is a nice place to do this experiment. Nature. When you look at a tree without those glasses imaginaries that filter the form, can see branches, flowers, leaves, and maybe mangoes or plums. With his captivating glasses new, the lines that form the limits of the tree are blurred, and there is an energetic vibration so fast that it gives a completely new perspective of tree. You see the spaces between the leaves and notice the silence of the acorn in that non-existent moment, or the bone of the command from which the first outbreak of creation, starting the whole process that will eventually become the tree that be looking. See the development of that process of life, which exists inside the tree and that lets it sleep in winter and bloom in spring, to infinity, or at least as long as you stay alive. He realizes that the new mangoes are producing not only a new fruit, but also an infinity of mangoes. See that life force in a single tree, stretching back and forth in a continuous stream of creation. Start seeing all of nature with that new vision: birds, ants, lakes, mountains, clouds, stars, everything. Deepen your vision so you don't see alone forms and limits. Appreciate the miracle that your environment assumes. By doing so, you will be balancing people. Those new glasses let you see it all from a new perspective. No longer go high and low, dark and light, man and woman, old and young, beautiful and ugly. Their lenses blur the lines that classify people with cultural differences or religious, and does not see others only through their clothing or their physical appearance or because of the language they speak. All appearances are dissolved by the filters on your lenses and in your thoughts, so now you see the unfolding of the spiritual energy in all people finding. What you perceive is pure love vibrating in front of your eyes. See the goodness personified, sees and feels the same vulnerabilities in everyone else feel inside, see huge fringes of peaceful and bright energy that connect. His new vision prompts him to happily imagine that 2 people created, and 4 persons created 2 people who created you, and 8 people created 4 people who they created 2 people who created him you. If we go back a few generations more until the time of Abraham Lincoln, we have 16,000 people who are related to you and they came together to create you. Can imagine going back to the time of Socrates, and be amazed by the calculation result. Were necessary trillions of people to create one of us, but there have been trillions of people, so in a way amazingly mathematical, all we are related. Those are the fascinating connections you can observe with his imaginary lenses that they transform their thoughts. Discover that there is no one to judge, no one to who to hate, and no one to harm, because he sees clearly that we are related. In fact, we are all one. From here, you can extend your perspective to include more life events. Where before I saw the comings and goings of people as a pure chance in the current moment, shaping the events of his life and the lives of any another, his new filter lenses let you see that all those things are energetically related. Now see one infinite network of laser-like energies that emanate from everyone's thoughts, melting the events of life of all in energetic perfection. Go to some people with vibrations very fast, energy adjusting perfectly with the energy of the source of creation. See how they tune in source of life that creates everything and everything knows, and how events attract perfectly in a pairing vibrational. Also see what they appear to be accidents, tragedies, and horrors, and how they are also vibrational partners that collide in what he has called mistakes, but in reality they are the result of 2 or more energies found in a bigger picture than before I could not see. Witness the relationship between individual expectations and what you attract in your life. With those glasses amazing, he realizes that all the events and all encounters accidental are really a few amazing vibrational couples compatible, instead of situations that they happen randomly. With that awareness, you are reaching a level of equilibrium between the spirit and form. How life looks when spirit and form they are balanced. This is what I've discovered to be able to maintain those 2 aspects, twins of life, in balance. Now I see the spiritual energy in all people I meet. When I am tempted to judge someone, I remind myself of myself that I must see it through my special glasses. When I can do it, all negative judgments dissolve. I feel calmer knowing that I'm just this body that I'm meant to leave. I also feel everyday life-giving spirit within me, and it is very exciting. Now I know that I am a being infinite spiritual and that I share that original energy with all the beings of the planet, as well as with all those who have lived here or those who will live in the future. Be more balanced spiritually and physically gives me the opportunity to live in a continuous state of gratitude and respect. I see miracles everywhere. I take myself less seriously. Feel intimately connected with others. There is less stress in my life. Feel less pressured to fit between the others or to be successful. And the funny thing is I function at a higher level because the spirit flows without hindrance through me. There is a significant change in your life when it corrects the imbalance between your physical and spiritual being. The title of this chapter is taken from a well-known poem by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. This is a fragment of the poem. The earth is full of skies, and each bush burns with God, but only the one who sees, takes off his shoes, the rest sit and pluck berries. When Moses approached the thicket in flames, he took off his shoes and took communion with God. You can change your focus and see with new eyes, encouraged by his thoughts. When you do, you will see that the poet is right, the earth is full of heavens. If you don't believe it or practice it, you will enjoy sitting around picking berries. Sogyal Rinpoche observed that two people have been living in you all his life. One is the ego, rude, demanding, hysterical, calculating; the other is the hidden spiritual being, whose calm voice and wise has heard few times. I invite you to recover certain balance, looking for the sky for all parts and listening and attending to that hidden spiritual being that is within you at all times, begging you to pay more attention. Finish. In Search of Balance. Wayne Dyer.